Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This is going to be my short review of a roughly 4,000 kilometer journey on owning a 2017 SV650. I've had this bike since March, so didn't really start riding it until the end of April, being as I live in Canada. But this has been a season of riding. I have a little bit left. It's September, so maybe a month or two if I'm lucky here in the middle of Canada. We'll start with some specs, just that I know off the top of my head. 2017 650 V motor, 90 degree, I believe. They boast about 75 claimed horsepower, and sure, I believe them. Plenty of power, right low down, as these V motors are known for. Throw in a first gear wheelie if you want. If you're more talented than myself, maybe a second gear wheelie. But all that oomph is low down, right when you twist on the throttle. Rev ranges from, I believe, to 11,000. I have to remember. Yeah, they say 10. I revved it to 11. They don't recommend it. But right here, as you can see, brake in, they don't want you going over 5. But this 5 here is right where your power band really kicks off to about 10. The owner's manual will tell you don't rev it past 10. But if you want to modify it, obviously, it gives you a little bit extra, 11 and 12. I haven't done any modifications to it other than when I bought it on promotion, I had some in-store credit. I used it on this comfier seat, a little bit extra padding. And a couple other things like, cell phone holder and a tank protector, which I do recommend for this. Back to the seat. If there's any negative reviews on this bike, the seat, the stock seat is one of them. It ends up being brick-like after riding for an hour or so. Before my seat came in, I could maybe go 2 hours before you could really feel these edges on the inside of your legs. This seat is a little bit better, but when they come out with seat pads, if you want to make this bike into a touring bike or you just want to take a road trip, I highly recommend it. Other than that, this bike is great for commuting. It's got the power low down, like I said before, weave in between traffic, do wheelies, like I said before, if you really wanted to show off for everyone as they're cruising down Queen Street. Other things that I do like about this bike is this circle headlight. I'm into cafe racers. I like Harleys and Indian bikes and the older 70s and 80s style Hondas. I love the circle headlight. That's a styling cue I really hope they don't get rid of later on. Another thing I like is the seating position. Now, they really recommend this bike for newer riders because as you're sitting on it, seat height isn't extremely high, but yet a 6'3" person like myself can put my leg up comfortably and the leg goes right where you want it. I'm not cramped. My legs don't get cramped. You don't get that seizing up in your hip or your knee after riding for a while. It's very comfortable. You're not doing a push-up on the handlebars. You're more upright. You can lean forward if you want. It's just a very comfortable bike. The tank isn't up at your chest. It's fairly low down. Other than that, everything is where you want it to be. Very friendly bike. If you're just starting out or you're getting off your smaller 250s, 300s, and you're looking for a slightly faster bike. Another thing that is very good for easy riding for beginners is, let me just start this up here, put it in neutral. There, oh no, there we go. Start it up. It has an easy rider assist, which I didn't know about until afterward. Because if I put it in first, this bike will actually take off without any throttle input. I'm holding my phone on this hand, just slightly left the throttle, and the bike will actually take off and get up to about 10 kilometers without any throttle input. It'll automatically adjust where my RPM is so that the bike won't stall. Now, if you're an experienced rider, you'll never use it or maybe even notice it, but it is a nifty little trick they did. Owning this bike and having ridden other bikes better than this bike, you really notice why this bike is not to say cheap, but inexpensive for a bike. Now, it's a fast bike per se. For what it is, 75 horsepower is nothing to laugh at when it comes to a bike. But if you look at the brakes, they're not the biggest brakes in the world. The suspension is upside right. Yes, it's thicker than say your 80s Honda, but if you're wanting to throw it around a track, you really do notice that the front squats a bit. Your front brakes are a little bit spongy. Same with your back brakes. And the rear suspension is fairly basic. I have it on its hardest setting. And even then, when I'm throwing it around a mountain pass, I find I want a little bit more sports, a little bit more firmness out of it. Other than that, this bike is moddable. Do whatever you want to it, really. Throw a Gixxer front end on it. Throw clip-ons for a cafe racer. Make it a touring bike. After 4,000 kilometers, no complaints whatsoever. Really reliable bike. I did end up getting a flat, so I have Dunlop Q3s. Maybe overkill for what I do, but really notice a difference on the back. What they usually come with is qualifiers, but Q3s is the way to go if you want to get into any, really aggressive street riding or track riding. Other than that, this has been my review on the Suzuki Sv650. I highly recommend it for a beginner rider, an experienced rider, a commuter bike, or a track bike if you're looking to mod a fairly inexpensive bike. This isn't a high performance, blow your face off bike, more like this Z900 over here. This still surprises me every time I get on it. But this bike, I love riding this bike. I'll just late at night, get bored, throw your helmet on, go for a zip downtown, do a couple wheelies, come home, and want to do the same thing over again the next night. It's I like the way it's styled. I like the way it sounds, even with the stock exhaust on it. Just an all-around good bike. Anyway, thanks for viewing. Peace.